So, Amrit, you've been a franchisee. I think you mentioned you'd been a franchisee for a home care brand.
Yes, correct.
Okay, can you say more about how you arrived there?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a sort of funny story, actually. So I was in restaurants. I went to university, I read economics and history, and from about the age of 13, I was pretty clear that I didn't want to work for someone.
Hmm.
And I went through the motions of it, being sort of an Indian boy where I grew up. It was expected that I did the whole journey and made mum and dad, be able to tick it off the list. Or great son's gone to university. And while I was at university, I was trying to figure out, well, what can I do? What can I do that that isn't a real job? and I tried various things. They didn't kind of take off, and I left uni. And I was like, gosh, what should I do now? And I started working as a headhunter, yeah, in IT testing, but as a headhunter, and did that for about 8 months. Realized I was totally unemployable, left that and found a restaurant that was for sale. And after a lot of kind of moving things around and palaver, I was able to buy this place. It was a going concern. It was an Italian deli in Richmond. And I started running this, having never had been to Italy. The previous pastas had masala in them from my mum's cooking, and I didn't drink coffee, didn't drink wine, didn't really get it, didn't speak Italian, but I had this whole Italian team, and I was like, okay, cobbled my way through that, and started a couple of other catering businesses around there, a tea room and so on. But in the midst of this, I met my now wife, my then girlfriend, and she's a dentist and very 9 to 5. And I had revamped this deli to be more of a fine dining restaurant, and so I was working every day, every night. Actually, scrap that. I wasn't working on a Monday night, which was our date night. And on a Monday night, we'd go out, and I'd basically almost fall asleep everywhere, and because I was just exhausted, working 90 hours a week. And she says to me, we're having a coffee on a Monday afternoon, and I say coffee, but actually it was a hot chocolate because I didn't drink coffee back then. And I was saying to my wife, I said, look, Christian, I really feel like I've got more to give. I want to do something else. And what was going on in my heart of hearts was I wanted to propose to her, but she'd be mad to say yes because I was never around. And so I was thinking, well, what else can I do? And she said to me, have you ever thought about domiciliary care? I was 25 at the time. I said, what on earth is that? And the next thing I know, I've spoken to all the franchisors around the country, and I've bought a franchise. And I was living in Buckinghamshire, driving an hour every morning to Abingdon, where my office was, doing a 9 to 5 there, and then driving 3 hours at 5 p.m. to Richmond, working there until about midnight, driving an hour back to Buckinghamshire, and then spending an hour on the phone to my then girlfriend, kind of keeping that spinning, and then waking up ridiculously early to hit the gym because that was the only time I could fit that in and start the whole thing again. But that was back in 2012 that I signed the agreement. In September, I got my CQC registration at the end of November, and I started trading in 2013. I found it tremendously hard, actually. I had a really slow start, and I found it really difficult. I just didn't really quite understand what to do. But it was actually at that point that I realized this is my long-term mission. What I need to do is create something that is open for any professional around the country to come in and say, here is the playbook. This is what you need to do in terms of marketing, in terms of recruitment, in terms of everything else that you need to do to build a business, and put all of that together. I often, as we all do, when you think about franchising, you think about McDonald's, and you think about just step-by-step process, and that whole thing to say that the average person can be a good entrepreneur. And that was my mission, really. So I built this business up, made it sort of self-sustainable, and it was pretty successful. And I was able to then sell that business, use the proceeds to then invest, and I then founded Walfinch.